I stood inside Unit 5 with my keys still in my hand. The room sounded wrong. That was the first thing I noticed. Marie's studio had always carried a low electrical hum. The ventilation fan rattled even when it was turned off. Shelves clicked against the brick wall whenever a truck passed outside. That afternoon, there was nothing. The kiln was gone. Her wheel was gone. 6 shelving racks were gone. The long work table where she rolled clay had been taken apart and removed. Even the gray rubber mat beneath her stool was missing. All I could see were pale squares on the concrete floor. Dust had collected around everything over the years. Whoever cleared the room had left clean outlines behind. There was one broken mug handle near the drain. I bent down and picked it up. Blue glaze, with a little brown thumbprint baked into one side. Marie used to test colors on handles before committing to a whole batch. She kept the failures in a coffee can beside the sink. The coffee can was gone too. I heard footsteps behind me. Louis Potter stopped at the doorway. Louis rented Unit 2 for his metal shop. He removed his safety glasses and held them against his shirt. "I tried calling you," he said. "I was driving. They said Nicholas had permission." I looked at him. "Who said that?" "The woman running the crew, Andrea something. She had paperwork. Was Nicholas here?" Louis hesitated. "For part of it." I put the broken handle in my shirt pocket. "How long?" "They started yesterday morning, finished around noon today. I'd been away for 3 days at a trade show in Minneapolis." Nicholas knew that. He'd asked about the trip during dinner the previous Sunday. I walked to the center of the empty room. Marie's kiln had weighed almost 500 pounds. Moving it required a pallet jack, a lift gate, and somebody who understood what not to grab. This wasn't a confused relative loading keepsakes into a pickup. This had been arranged. Louis stayed near the doorway. "Ralph, I thought maybe you sold everything." "No, I should have stopped them. You're a tenant. You're not my security guard." He looked toward the empty kiln outlet. They took the finished pieces too. That landed harder than the kiln. Marie had left almost 200 finished pieces in that room. Bowls, pitchers, serving plates, and the little covered jars she made during chemotherapy. We'd planned to display them at her memorial in August. Now the memorial was less than 3 months away. I didn't call Nicholas from the studio. I didn't call Kayla either. I locked the empty unit and walked across the courtyard to my office. The camera recorder was inside a steel cabinet behind my desk. My name is Ralph Thompson, and I'm 72 years old. Before I go on, what city are you listening from? Marie had been gone 8 months when I found that room empty. At that moment, I still believed Nicholas might have made a terrible decision while trying to help. I didn't yet understand that the studio was only the first move. To explain that, I need to go back to September. Marie died on a Thursday morning at St. Mary's. It was raining hard enough to wash the dust from the hospital windows. She had been asleep most of the night. Just after 6, she opened her eyes and asked if I'd checked the kiln. "The kiln's fine," I told her. "You always say that." "Because it usually is." She moved her fingers against the blanket. I put my hand under them. "Don't let people turn the studio into a sad place," she said. "I won't." "I mean it, Ralph. I know you do." Those were the last clear words she said. Marie was 68. We'd known the cancer was getting ahead of us. Knowing didn't make the hospital room easier. It only meant I had her coat folded before the nurse came in. Nicholas arrived about 40 minutes later. He stopped beside the bed and pressed both hands over his mouth. He was Marie's son from her first marriage. I married her when Nicholas was 9. I never asked him to call me Dad. He started doing it on his own about a year later, usually when he wanted permission for something his mother had already refused. That morning, he sat beside me and said it again. "Dad, what do we do?" "We stay here a little while." So we did. Kayla came after that. She hugged Nicholas first. Then she put one arm around me and started talking about phone calls. "I can handle the funeral home," she said. "I can call the church. Do you know where Marie kept the insurance information?" "Not now, Kayla. I'm just trying to take things off your plate." "I know." "Not now?" She went quiet, but she took out her phone anyway. That was Kayla's way. Every offer came with motion already attached. By the time you answered, she'd usually made the decision. I didn't see that as dangerous then. I saw it as tiring. We held a small burial the next week. Family, a few old friends, and several Portage Row tenants stood under umbrellas. Marie had never liked formal services. She once told me that funeral flowers looked guilty. The bigger memorial was supposed to happen at her studio. People wanted time to plan it properly. Her customers were scattered across Minnesota and Wisconsin. Several artists traveled during the fall craft season. Duluth weather was already turning cold. Lewis suggested the first Saturday of the following August. "We'll use the courtyard," he said. "Open the big doors. Put her work in Unit 5. I looked at Nicholas. He wiped his nose with a folded tissue. "Mom would like that." Kayla nodded. "It gives us time to sort everything." I heard that word, sort, but didn't question it. "Nothing gets sorted yet," I said. "The studio stays as it is." Kayla gave me a careful smile. "Of course. I didn't mean right away. I kept Unit 5 locked after that. Not because I distrusted anyone. I simply wasn't ready for people to wander through it." Marie had worked there for 23 years. Her apron still hung from a hook beside the sink. A grocery list was pinned under a magnet shaped like a trout. Half the items were crossed off. Her reading glasses sat beside the glazed notebook. A dried clay smear crossed one lens. I left it there. Portage Row Studios sits on West Michigan Street in Duluth. The building started as light industrial space, with brick walls, steel windows, and concrete thick enough for machinery. I bought it when most people saw leaking pipes and unpaid taxes. I saw 8 units. I was an iron worker then. I'd spent years standing on beams other men owned. I wanted one place under my boots that belonged to me. I worked on Portage Row nights and weekends. Marie helped scrape paint and label breaker panels. Nicholas, by then a young man, carried lumber and complained about the dust. The first tenants moved in during 1998. We had a cabinet maker, a sign painter, and a bicycle repair shop. Louis came later with his metal business. Marie claimed Unit 5 in 2002. She stood in the middle of the room and turned slowly. "This one gets afternoon light," she said. "This one needs new plumbing." "So, install new plumbing." "I'm your landlord now?" "No, you're my husband with a wrench. I installed the sink that weekend." We wrote a real lease for the unit. The lease was in my individual name, not Marie's. That was how Jerry Hubbard told me to handle it for clean bookkeeping. Portage Row owned the space through the business structure. I paid the rent personally. Marie used the studio. She used to laugh when I handed her the monthly receipt. "Evict me," she'd say. "You're 3 days late. I know the owner. The owner's difficult." She'd kiss my cheek and return to her wheel. That lease stayed active after she died. I kept paying every month. The studio wasn't part of Marie's personal estate. It wasn't Nicholas's inheritance, and it wasn't Kayla's project to manage. It was a rented workspace under my control. At the time, I didn't think I needed to explain that. Everyone knew I owned Portage Row. Everyone knew I handled the leases. More importantly, everyone heard me say the studio would remain untouched until the memorial. For the first few weeks after the burial, Nicholas called every evening. "Did you eat?" "Yes." "What did you eat?" "Food." That's not an answer. It worked for 40 years when your mother asked. Sometimes he stopped after work. He managed operations for a regional trucking company and usually arrived in a reflective jacket. He'd sit at my kitchen table, loosen his boots, and drink whatever coffee remained in the pot. We talked about practical things: snow tires, the memorial guest list, a leak in Unit 7, anything except Marie. One Sunday he noticed her blue mixing bowl on the counter. "You're still making pancakes?" he asked. "Every Sunday, for just you?" "I don't know how to divide an egg." He laughed. It sounded normal. That mattered more than I admitted. I'd raised Nicholas, but blood can become a subject people avoid. After Marie died, I wondered what I still was to him. I didn't ask. Men my age have a bad habit of waiting for answers to questions we refuse to say out loud. Kayla came with him about half the time. She brought containers labeled with dates: soup, chicken casserole, pasta that became one solid block in the refrigerator. She also started inspecting things. "This rug could make you trip," she said once. "That rug has been there since you married Nicholas. That doesn't make it safe." Another time, she opened my medicine cabinet while looking for aspirin. "You have expired cold medicine. I'll notify the authorities." "I'm serious, Ralph. So am I. They may surround the house." Nicholas laughed. Kayla didn't. She began using the phrase "at your age." At your age, stairs can become a problem. At your age, you need a medical alert button. At your age, it's smart to simplify. I was 71 then. I still cleared snow from the front walk before either of them woke up. I climbed ladders at Portage Row when I needed to, though Marie had made me promise to stop doing that alone. The promise mattered, the lecture didn't. One Saturday in October, I came home from the hardware store and found 3 glossy pamphlets on my kitchen table. The first showed an older couple holding hands beside a fake fireplace. The second advertised assisted living near Lake Superior. The third offered something called memory support planning. Kayla was at the counter making tea. I set down the bag of furnace filters. "Where did these come from?" She turned around. "Oh, those. I picked them up for you. I didn't ask for them, I know. It's just information." Nicholas sat near the window, looking at his phone. I picked up the memory support pamphlet. "Do you think I'm losing my memory?" Kayla's eyes widened. "No, nobody said that. It's on my table. Ralph, don't make it into something ugly. These places have waiting lists. Smart people plan early. For what? For changes." "What changes?" She looked at Nicholas. He put down his phone. "Dad, she's only trying to help. I asked what changes." Nicholas rubbed his thumb across the edge of the table. "You're here alone now? I noticed. That's not what I meant." Kayla carried her tea over and sat beside him. "We all know you're capable," she said, "but this house is too much. Then there's Portage Row. 8 tenants, repairs, insurance, taxes. You shouldn't have to keep carrying all of that. I'm not carrying the building. It mostly stands by itself." She smiled like I'd made a harmless joke. "See, this is why conversations with you are difficult. I didn't know we were having a conversation. I thought you left advertisements in my kitchen." Nicholas pushed his chair back. "Can we not fight?" "I'm not fighting." "Dad." That word stopped me. He looked tired. His shoulders had dropped. For a second, I saw the boy who used to stand between Marie and me whenever he thought we were arguing. Even if we were only discussing a plumbing bill, he wanted peace immediately. I put the pamphlets back on the table. "I'm not moving," I said. "Nobody's moving you," Kayla replied. "Then we agree." She gathered the pamphlets into a neat stack. "Just keep them, that's all I'm asking." I took them to the recycling bin after they left. The next morning, they were back on the table. Kayla had tucked them beneath Marie's blue ceramic fruit bowl before leaving. I hadn't seen them there. I stood in the kitchen holding those pamphlets. Rain tapped against the window over the sink. Marie's coffee mug was still on the drying rack, though I hadn't used it. I nearly threw the pamphlets away again. Instead, I opened the one about assisted living. Kayla had circled a floor plan in blue ink. It was a 1-bedroom unit, no garage, no workshop, no room for my filing cabinets. At the bottom, she'd written, "Good fit, close to us." I folded the pamphlet and placed it in the drawer beside the refrigerator. That was when I started paying attention. Not because one brochure proved anything. It didn't. Families leave brochures around. Daughters-in-law worry. Widowers become stubborn. All of that was possible. Still, something about the circle bothered me. Kayla hadn't brought me information. She'd already selected a room. During November, Nicholas visited less often. His trucking company was short on drivers, and winter schedules were a mess. When he did come, Kayla usually came with him. She asked about passwords, not directly at first. "Do you keep everything on paper?" she asked one evening. "Most things." "What if there's an emergency?" "Then paper continues being paper." "I mean, if someone needs access." "To what?" "Bills, insurance, Portage Row records. I need access. I have it." She rinsed her coffee cup and stared out the kitchen window. "You always have an answer. Questions tend to cause that." Nicholas gave me a warning look. I let the subject drop. A few days later, my electric bill didn't arrive. Neither did the monthly statement from the credit union. I assumed the mail was slow. Then a birthday card from my sister reached me almost 2 weeks late. A yellow forwarding sticker covered my address. The new address belonged to Nicholas and Kayla. I called Nicholas from the kitchen. "Did you forward my mail?" "What?" "My mail is going to your house." "No." "Why would I do that?" A cabinet closed behind him. Then Kayla's voice came through. "Is that Ralph?" Nicholas spoke away from the phone. "He says his mail came here." There was a pause. Kayla took the phone. "I was going to tell you. Tell me now." It was a precaution. "What was?" "The forwarding request." I sat down at the table. "You filed one in my name?" "Not exactly. I helped start one." "Your mail was piling up. My mailbox was empty. That's because I picked it up." I looked toward the front door. "When?" "Whenever we came by." "You went through my mailbox?" "I collected it, Ralph." "There's a difference." "Where is it?" "We have a little stack here. Nothing important." "You don't decide what's important." She exhaled into the phone. "This is what I mean. You hear one small thing and get angry. I'm not angry. You sound angry. I'm sitting at my own table, asking where my mail went. Nicholas said something behind her. I couldn't make it out. Kayla lowered her voice. You've had a difficult few months. We're trying to create some backup. Cancel the forwarding. I don't know if it finished processing. Then give me the confirmation number. I'll look. Now. Another pause. Then Nicholas came back on the phone. Dad, I'll bring everything tomorrow. I asked for the confirmation number. We'll fix it. Did you know she filed it? No. Kayla said his name sharply in the background. Nicholas lowered his voice. I knew she was helping with some paperwork. I didn't know about that. I believed him. That was the part I kept doing. I separated Nicholas from each decision. Kayla pushed. Nicholas avoided conflict. I'd watched that pattern for years. I told myself, weakness wasn't betrayal. The following morning, I drove to the post office before going to Portage Row. I brought identification, 2 utility bills, and the late birthday card. The clerk examined the forwarding label. This shouldn't have been approved like this, she said. Can you stop it? Yes. You'll need to sign a cancellation. Can I get a copy of the original request? She shook her head. Not here, but I can give you the request date and forwarding address. Write those down, please. The request had been submitted in late October. That was several weeks before Kayla claimed she'd only started it. I signed the cancellation and asked the clerk to flag any new request. Back in my truck, I called Erica Wright. Erica had handled my property work for years. She also helped Marie and me restructure Portage Row after the cancer diagnosis in 2021. She answered on the 3rd ring. Ralph, everything okay? I don't know yet. I told her about the pamphlets, then I told her about the mail. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she asked, Does Nicholas have power of attorney? No. Does Kayla? No. Have you signed anything since Marie died? Funeral paperwork. Nothing financial. Good. Keep the forwarding information. Save the pamphlets too. I kept one. Why? Something felt off. Erica was quiet for a moment. Don't confront them again yet, she said. I wasn't planning to. Call me if anybody asks about your accounts, your medical records, or control of Portage Row. I looked through the windshield at the post office entrance. You think this is about the building? I think we don't guess. We document. That sounded right to me. I drove to Portage Row and unlocked my office. Unit 5 was across the courtyard. Marie's blinds were half open, exactly as she'd left them. I took the forwarding information from my pocket. Then I opened the bottom drawer of my desk and placed it inside. At that point, all I had was a circled floor plan and a mail request. I had no idea someone else had already been invited into my home to judge whether I could manage my own life. 2 weeks later, Kayla called while I was changing a furnace filter in Unit 7. There's a woman I'd like you to meet, she said. What kind of woman? A wellness consultant. No, you haven't even heard what she does. I heard consultant. It's free. That makes it worse. Kayla sighed. She works with a community senior program. She helps people evaluate their home situation after a major loss. My home is still where I left it. This isn't about moving. I slid the old filter into a plastic bag. What is it about? Support. Safety. Making sure you have what you need. I have furnace filters. Can you be serious for 1 minute? I am serious. This one was filthy. She waited until I stopped moving around. Nicholas thinks it would be good for you. That caught my attention. Put him on. He's at work. Then he can tell me later. Ralph, it's one visit. She comes to the house. You answer a few questions. If it isn't helpful, that's the end of it. I should have refused again. Instead, I thought about what Erica had said. We didn't guess. We documented. What's her name? Tiffany Love. What program? I don't have the full name in front of me. You said it was a community program. It is. She explained it better than I can. When is she coming? Thursday at 11. You already scheduled it. I held a time. You scheduled it. I knew you'd argue. I carried the used filter toward the back door. I'll meet her. Kayla's voice brightened immediately. Good. You'll like her? I didn't say that. I called Erica from my truck. She listened, then asked, Did Kayla give you the name of the program? No. Did she say who pays Tiffany? She said it's free. That wasn't my question. I know. Erica tapped something on her desk. I could hear it through the phone. Let the visit happen if you're comfortable, she said. Don't sign releases. Don't give her account numbers. Don't let her photograph financial documents. What should I give her? Accurate answers. That's easy. and write down what she asks. That Thursday, I put a yellow legal pad beside my chair. I also moved my bank statements and Portage Row files into the locked cabinet in my office. I wasn't setting a trap. I wanted a clean record. Tiffany arrived 9 minutes early. Kayla arrived with her. That surprised me less than it should have. Tiffany wore black pants, soft shoes, and a long green sweater. She carried a leather folder with her initials stamped near the clasp. She looked around the entryway before taking off her coat. "What a lovely older home," she said. "It was built in 1948. Have you been here long?" 32 years. Kayla touched Tiffany's elbow. "Ralph likes details." "I love details," Tiffany said. Her tone reminded me of someone talking to a nervous dog. I led them to the kitchen. Tiffany sat where Nicholas usually sat. Kayla took the chair across from me. "Would you like coffee?" I asked. "No, thank you," Tiffany said. "I try not to create extra work. I'm making some for myself." "Then tea would be wonderful." Kayla smiled at me as if I'd passed something. While the water heated, Tiffany opened her folder. There was no county seal on it, no hospital name, no brochure from any public program, just printed forms with her name at the top. I set a mug in front of her. "What organization are you with?" "I'm independent." Kayla reached for the sugar bowl. "She partners with community groups." "What groups?" "A number of them," Tiffany said. "Churches, neighborhood programs, family resource networks." "Which one referred you here?" She stirred her tea. "Kayla contacted me directly." I looked at Kayla. She kept stirring coffee she hadn't sweetened. Tiffany gave a small laugh. "Families are often the first community, aren't they?" "Sometimes." She placed a form on the table. "I want to make clear that this isn't a medical evaluation." "What is it?" "A general wellness conversation. Will you write a report?" "I provide recommendations. To me, to the family unit. There are only 3 people in this kitchen." "Which one hired you?" Kayla put down her spoon. "Ralph, please." Tiffany raised one hand. "It's a fair question." Kayla requested the consultation. "Did she pay you?" "This initial visit is complimentary. That means later visits aren't. If more support is needed, we discuss options." I wrote that on the legal pad. Tiffany glanced at it. "Are you taking notes?" "Yes. May I ask why?" "I like details." Kayla shifted in her chair. Tiffany recovered quickly. She smiled and turned to the first page in her folder. We began with ordinary questions. My full name, my address, the date, emergency contacts. Then she asked if I knew what day of the week it was. "Thursday." "Do you know the date?" "December 11th. "What season are we in?" I looked through the window. Snow covered the back steps. Monsoon. Kayla closed her eyes. Tiffany watched me closely. "It's winter," I said. That was a joke. She made a mark on her paper. "What did you write?" "Nothing concerning." I didn't ask if it was concerning. She covered the form with her forearm. "These are working notes. About me." "Ralph," Kayla said, "you agreed to cooperate. I'm cooperating." Tiffany moved on. She asked who managed my bills. I said I did. She asked whether I'd missed any payments. I said no. She asked if I'd ever left the stove on. I told her the stove had an indicator light. "Have you ever forgotten it?" she asked. "Probably." "When?" "I don't remember." Kayla made an irritated sound. I looked at her. That was also a joke. Tiffany wrote again. The questions became more pointed. Had I become angry since Marie died? Had I accused family members of interfering? Had I resisted help? Had I made unusual financial decisions? Had I become attached to objects connected with Marie? That one stopped me. What does attached mean? Unable to discard them. Her belongings? Yes. She died 3 months ago. Grief can complicate decision-making. So can bad questions. Kayla leaned forward. "This is exactly what I told you about." The room went quiet. Tiffany looked at her. "What did you tell her?" I asked. Kayla picked up her cup. "That you get defensive. You brought a stranger into my kitchen to ask why I haven't thrown away my wife's belongings. That isn't what she asked. It was close." Tiffany folded her hands. "Mr. Thompson, nobody is telling you to discard anything. We're trying to understand your relationship with your environment. I have a fine relationship with my environment. Can you tell me why your wife's mug is still on the drying rack?" I turned toward the sink. Marie's mug had a white body with 3 red lines near the handle. She'd made it years ago. The bottom wasn't quite flat, so it rocked slightly on the counter. "Because I washed it." "When did you last use it?" "I don't use it." Then why wash it? Dust. She made another mark. I reached across the table. Let me see your form. Tiffany pulled it closer to her. These notes are private. You're taking private notes about me in my house? They're part of my professional process. What license do you have? I'm a certified senior transition specialist. Certified by whom? There are several training bodies. Which one certified you? Kayla pushed her chair back. This is ridiculous. I kept looking at Tiffany. She named an organization I'd never heard of. I wrote it down. Do you have a card? Of course. She took one from her folder. It listed her name, a phone number, an email address, and the words, Independent Senior Transition Consultant. There was no office address. I placed the card on my legal pad. Are you qualified to assess memory? I told you this isn't medical. Then stop asking medical questions. They're wellness questions. Who receives your recommendations? She looked at Kayla. That was the first honest answer I got. I stood. The visit is over. Kayla stared at me. We're not finished. You can stay if you want. Tiffany can't. Tiffany closed her folder. I understand this feels intrusive. It is intrusive. Resistance is common when someone feels their independence is being questioned. My independence is being questioned. That perception is worth discussing. I walked to the entryway and brought her coat. Tiffany took it without looking at Kayla. I'll follow up with the family contact, she said. I'm the person you assessed. Kayla made the appointment. And you're going to discuss me with her. I'll only discuss the visit. I opened the door. That's discussing me. She stepped outside. Kayla remained in the kitchen for another 30 seconds. She stood with both palms on the table. You embarrassed her. She'll recover. I was trying to get you some help. I didn't ask for help. That's the problem. What problem, Kayla? You don't ask. You decide you're fine, and everybody has to accept it. I looked at the chair where Tiffany had been sitting. Did Nicholas know what this visit was? Yes. Did he see her questions? No. Did he know you hired her? I didn't hire her. She said you contacted her directly. That's not the same thing. Did you ask her to write recommendations about me? Kayla grabbed her purse. I asked for guidance. About what? About how we deal with the future. She walked to the entryway. Whose future? She pulled on her coat. Call Nicholas. I'm done being interrogated. After she left, I sat at the kitchen table and finished my notes. I wrote the questions as closely as I could remember them. I included Tiffany's exact wording about family contact. I also wrote what Kayla had said. That's the problem. I underlined it once. Then I called the organization Tiffany claimed had certified her. A recorded message said their office was closed. I left my name and number. Next, I searched for her business on my computer. She had a simple website. It showed stock photographs of smiling older people and adult children holding clipboards. Her services included downsizing plans, family mediation, housing placement, and estate dispersal coordination. Estate dispersal caught my eye. I printed the page. There was no mention of a community program. Nothing suggested her work was free. Her website said consultations were available to private clients. The next morning, the certification organization called me back. A woman named Denise checked their records. Yes, Ms. Love completed an online transition planning course with us, she said. Does that qualify her to evaluate memory? No. Medical capacity? No. Financial capacity? Absolutely not. What does the course qualify her to do? There was a short pause. It covers relocation planning, communication with older clients, and general service coordination. Does your organization supervise her? No. She isn't employed by us. I thanked Denise and added the call to my notes. Then I called Tiffany. She answered in the same soft voice she'd used at my table. Mr. Thompson, I'm glad you reached out. I want a copy of your recommendations. I haven't completed them. When you do, send them to me. I'll have to discuss that with my client. Kayla, the requesting family member, I'm requesting them now. This process works best when communication stays coordinated. I'm the subject of the process. I understand your concern. Will you send me the report? I can't promise that without permission. From Kayla, yes, that was enough. I didn't argue. I thanked her and ended the call. A few minutes later, Kayla called. I let it ring. Then Nicholas called. I answered that one. What happened yesterday? He asked. You tell me. I wasn't there. Did you agree to the visit? He breathed into the phone. Kayla said someone would check the house for safety issues. She asked questions about my memory and finances. What? She asked why I kept your mother's things. Nicholas didn't speak for several seconds. She wasn't supposed to do that. What was she supposed to do? Check for loose rugs, stairs, that kind of thing. Did Kayla tell you it was a county program? I thought it was through some senior group. It wasn't. Okay. No, Nicholas, it isn't okay. I know. I'll talk to her. Ask whether Tiffany is writing a report. A report for who? That's a good question. He went quiet again. Dad, Kayla gets carried away. You know that. I know. She thinks if she doesn't organize something, it won't happen. What is she organizing? I don't know. I believe that too. Before we hung up, he said, "You're doing all right, aren't you? I'm standing in my kitchen. You know what I mean?" Yes, I'm doing all right. I worry about you. That's allowed. He gave a tired little laugh. I'll call tomorrow. He didn't. Christmas was awkward. Nicholas and Kayla came for dinner. I cooked a ham and scalloped potatoes. Marie's place at the table remained empty, but I didn't set it. I wasn't pretending she might walk in. Kayla brought a pie from a grocery store and acted as though the visit with Tiffany had never happened. Nicholas gave me a new cordless drill. I gave him Marie's old recipe box. He held it with both hands. Are you sure? She wanted you to have it. His eyes filled. He opened the lid and ran one finger across the cards. Kayla looked over his shoulder. We should scan these before something happens to them. Nicholas closed the box. They're fine. It was the first time I'd heard him answer her without softening it. She pressed her lips together. After dinner, while Nicholas carried plates to the sink, Kayla stood beside the Christmas tree. I'm sorry Tiffany upset you, she said. She didn't upset me. You threw her out? I asked her to leave. You know what I mean? Did she finish her report? Kayla's expression changed for less than a second. Then she adjusted an ornament. I don't know. She said you were her client. I'm not paying her. That wasn't what I asked. Nicholas returned from the kitchen. What report? Kayla turned toward him. It's just her visit notes. You said she was checking the house. She did. I watched Nicholas look from her to me. Can I see them? He asked. There's nothing to see yet. You just said there were notes. Everybody takes notes. Nicholas set down the dish towel. Kayla, she picked up her purse. I'm not doing this on Christmas. She went outside to start the car. Nicholas stayed behind. I'll get a copy, he said. Don't fight with her for me. I'm not fighting. You're already whispering. He looked toward the front door. I didn't know, Dad. I believe you. That seemed to hurt him more. In January, I made a new file at home. I labeled it Family Assistance because I didn't want dramatic words staring at me from the cabinet. I placed the assisted living pamphlet inside, then the mail forwarding information, Tiffany's card, my notes, and the page from her website. I called Erica and told her what I'd confirmed. She wasn't sent by any program, I said. Kayla hired her privately, or came close enough. And Tiffany won't give you her report. Not without Kayla's permission. Did you sign anything? No. Good. What can she do with it? By itself, probably very little. She isn't a physician. She can offer opinions, but opinions aren't authority. Then why write it? To influence somebody. That was what bothered me. Who? We still don't guess, Erica said. I leaned back in my desk chair. I'm getting tired of that rule. It's keeping you careful. She suggested I schedule a regular wellness appointment. Not a competency test. Just a proper checkup with a doctor who worked with older patients. I already saw Dr. Andrew Alexander through my clinic. I hadn't visited since before Marie entered hospice. I made the appointment for February. Dr. Alexander spent almost an hour with me. He checked my medications, balance, blood pressure, sleep, and appetite. He asked about grief without treating grief like a disease. Any trouble managing bills? He asked. No. Driving? No. Getting lost? Only in large hardware stores. He smiled. Any family concerns about your memory? My daughter-in-law hired a transition consultant. His pen stopped. For what reason? I'm trying to find that out. I told him about the visit. I didn't hand him my whole file. I gave him the facts and let him ask questions. He ran a short memory screening, words, numbers, a clock face, and a few simple tasks. I completed it without trouble. When he finished, he turned the paper toward himself. This is normal, he said. Nothing today suggests cognitive impairment. Put that in my chart. I would anyway. Put the family concern in there too. He looked at me over his glasses. You're anticipating something. I'm establishing where I stand. Dr. Alexander nodded. That's reasonable. When I left the clinic, I sat in my truck and called Erica. It's done, I said. How did it go? Normal. Good. I want certified copies of the Portage Row leases moved to your office. All of them? All 8, especially Unit 5. She didn't ask why. I'll arrange it. I drove to the building and checked Marie's studio. Everything was still where she'd left it. The kiln stood against the back wall. Her finished bowls filled the shelves. Her apron hung beside the sink. I locked the door again and tested the handle twice. Then I checked the access log for the courtyard gate. Kayla's code had been used 3 times during the previous month. She hadn't visited me on any of those days. I printed the access log and compared those dates against my calendar. The first was a Wednesday afternoon. I'd been at the clinic. The second was the morning I drove to 2 Harbors for plumbing parts. The third was during Marie's old ceramics group meeting at a coffee shop downtown. Each visit happened while I was away. The gate system used separate codes. I'd given Nicholas one years ago for emergencies. Kayla had another because she sometimes dropped off lunch for Marie. I opened the camera archive. On the first date, Kayla entered the courtyard alone. She stood outside Unit 5 and looked through the window. Then she walked around the building and tried the rear service door. It was locked. On the second visit, she photographed the unit number and the courtyard. She also took pictures through the glass. The third time, she brought a tape measure. I watched her measure the width of the exterior door. Then she measured the distance between the door and the loading area. She stayed 11 minutes. I saved all 3 clips. Then I called Nicholas. Is Kayla planning something for the memorial? Probably. Why? She's been at Portage Row. She goes there sometimes. Not since your mother died. He hesitated. She might be working on decorations. With a tape measure? I don't know, Dad. Ask her. I'm asking you because it's your access code too. No, mine ends in 8-4. Hers ends in 2-1. He remembered them without checking. Has she asked you for a key to Unit 5? No. Has she asked where I keep the master key? Another pause. What's this about? I want to know why she's measuring the loading door. She didn't tell me. All right. You're watching her on camera. I watch anyone who enters my building when it's closed. That sounds a little much. It sounded like insurance when I installed it. He exhaled. I'll ask her. Don't. You just said you wanted to know. I do. I'll ask. I called Kayla next. She answered while driving. I could hear a turn signal clicking. Why were you at Portage Row with a tape measure? The clicking stopped. For the memorial. What were you measuring? Tables. The tables aren't there yet. Where tables could go. You measured Unit 5's loading door. I measured several things. Why? Because somebody has to plan this. Louis and I are handling the courtyard. Louis is handling chairs. That isn't a memorial. What is? A proper display. Catering, flowers, maybe a video screen. Marie didn't want a production. She isn't here to tell us what she wants. I didn't answer. Kayla must have heard herself because her tone changed. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. Yes, I mean, we have to make decisions now. We can't ask her. The studio isn't one of those decisions. I know. You don't have permission to enter Unit 5. I didn't enter it. You tried the rear door. I wanted to see if it was unlocked. That's called trying to enter. She was quiet for a moment. Nicholas said you were monitoring me. The cameras monitor the building. You looked up my code. After I saw it on the log. Do you hear how that sounds? Yes. Accurate. She laughed once without humor. I went there to help with your wife's memorial. My wife was your husband's mother. You don't need to remind me. Then stop acting like I'm keeping you from a stranger's property. I never said that. I looked across the courtyard at Unit 5. Don't use the gate code without calling me. Fine. Not afterward. Before. I said fine. I disabled her code when the call ended. That evening, Nicholas came to the house alone. He didn't remove his jacket. He stood in the kitchen with his hands in the pockets. Did you lock Kayla out of Portage Row? I disabled her code, so yes. She still has access if she calls me. You're treating her like she stole something. I'm treating her like someone who tested a locked door. She was measuring, I know, for Mom's memorial. That's what she said. Nicholas walked to the sink and looked out the window. This whole thing is hard for her too. I'm sure it is. You don't act like it. I waited. He turned around. She loved Mom. I never said otherwise. She wants the memorial to be nice. So do I. Then why fight every idea? What idea did I fight? The consultant. That wasn't about the memorial, the living arrangements. I don't need new living arrangements. The mail. She forwarded my business mail without permission. He rubbed his forehead. I told her that was wrong. Good. But you keep stacking things together like there's some big scheme. At that point, I hadn't used that word. Hearing it from him bothered me. Did Kayla say I thought there was a scheme? No. Then why did you? Because that's how you're acting. I took 2 mugs from the cabinet. Coffee? I'm not staying. I put 1 mug back. Nicholas looked toward the hall. Marie's winter coat still hung on the last hook. I hadn't moved it. Kayla thinks you blame us for going on with our lives, he said. I don't. She says every time she suggests changing something, you make it about Mom. She suggested moving me out of my house. She gave you options. She picked a floor plan. She gets ahead of herself. That's a gentle way to say it. His jaw tightened. I came here to ask you to turn her code back on. No? Why not? Because she doesn't need unsupervised access. She's family. So are you. Your code still works. That makes it worse. How? You're making me choose sides. No. I'm separating 2 access codes. You know what I mean? I poured coffee into my mug. Yes, I do. He stepped toward the door. Mom wouldn't like this. That was the first time he used her against me. He regretted it immediately. I saw it in his face. I set down the coffee pot. Your mother kept Unit 5 locked, I said. She gave keys to 2 people, me and Louie. She didn't give one to you. She didn't give one to Kayla. I wasn't asking for a key. You were asking me to ignore a locked door. Nicholas opened his mouth, then closed it. Good night, Dad. Good night. I heard his truck start. It sat at the curb for a while before pulling away. In March, we held the first memorial planning meeting at Portage Row. Lewis brought folding chairs from Unit 2. 4 of Marie's artist friends came. Nicholas arrived late from work. Kayla brought a binder thick enough for a construction project. We sat in the courtyard wearing coats. Snow still filled the shaded corners near the brick wall. Kayla handed out printed schedules. The first page listed catering options. The second had rental prices for tents. The third was titled Studio Disposition. I tapped that heading. What does disposition mean? Kayla uncapped a pen. What happens with the contents afterward? That isn't part of this meeting. It has to happen sometime. Not today. One of Marie's friends, a glass artist named Jean, looked down at her schedule. Kayla continued. We need to know what will be displayed, what stays with Ralph, what goes to Nicholas, and what can be sold to cover expenses. Nicholas looked at her. Sold? Some pieces. Your mom had hundreds. They're not paying for the memorial, I said. Kayla pressed her pen against the paper. Then who is? I am. That isn't reasonable. I own the courtyard. Louis is lending chairs. Jean offered serving tables. The food is covered. By you. Yes. You're spending money emotionally. Louis shifted in his chair. I kept my voice level. How much am I spending? That's not the point. Then what is? You shouldn't make every decision alone. Jean closed her binder. Marie wanted her work shown in the studio, she said. We talked about it before she got too sick. Kayla looked at her. When? Last summer. Did she put that in writing? The question changed the air. Jean stared at her. No. We were glazing bowls. I'm not challenging you, Kayla said. I'm trying to separate plans from wishes. I stood and collected the schedules. Unit 5 stays intact until the memorial. Kayla held on to her copy. And afterward? We'll discuss that afterward. Nicholas has rights to his mother's property. He does. The studio lease isn't part of her estate. The pottery is. Some of it may be. What does that mean? It means Marie sold work through a business. Some pieces were customer orders. Some belonged to Portage Row's display inventory. Jerry is sorting the records. That was true. Marie had kept careful tags on most finished work. Red tags meant paid orders. Blue meant consignment. Unmarked pieces were hers. Kayla hadn't known that. She looked at Nicholas. Did you know about this? He shook his head. Neither did I, she said. That's exactly the problem. Louis stood. No, the problem is we came to plan sandwiches, and you're counting bowls. Kayla gathered her binder. I'm the only one thinking past August. She left without saying goodbye. Nicholas remained seated. Jean touched his shoulder as she passed. He gave her a strained smile. When everyone else had gone, he helped Louis stack the chairs. Then he came into Unit 5, where I was checking the humidity near the clay storage. The room smelled like dry earth and kiln brick. Afternoon light crossed the shelves. Nicholas stopped beside Marie's wheel. "I haven't been in here since the hospital," he said. "I know." He touched the wooden seat but didn't sit. "Did Mom really have customer orders left?" 7. I refunded 5. 2 customers asked me to keep theirs for the memorial. "Why didn't you tell me? It wasn't important." It feels like everybody knows pieces of her life, except me. I leaned against the work table. "You stopped coming to the craft fairs. I had work, I know." "You say that like you don't believe me." "I believe you had work." He looked around the studio. "Kayla thinks you're freezing everything. Maybe I am. For how long? Until August. And then? I'll decide when August gets here." His eyes went to the kiln. "What's that worth?" "I don't know. Mom said it cost a lot." "It did." "Would you ever sell it?" "No." He nodded slowly. "Okay. Why?" "No reason," Kayla asked. "What did you tell her?" "That it wasn't ours." He moved toward the door. Before leaving, he looked at the shelves of finished pottery. "You should let me help with this. After the memorial, not selling it, just sorting." "After the memorial." He nodded again, but he didn't look convinced. In early April, Kayla appeared at Portage Row with Andrea Valencia. I was in the courtyard replacing a light fixture. Kayla came through the gate using Nicholas's code. Andrea wore jeans, work boots, and a quilted vest. She carried a tablet and a small laser measuring device. Kayla introduced her as someone who helped arrange large events. Andrea shook my hand. "Beautiful building," she said. "Great loading access. For a memorial, for everything." She looked toward Unit 5. "Is that the ceramic space?" "Yes. I'd love to see the layout." "It's closed." Kayla stepped closer. "Ralph, Andrea is helping with display planning. We already have a display plan. You haven't shown me one. I don't need to." Andrea raised both hands. "I don't want to get in the middle of a family discussion." "What kind of events do you arrange?" I asked. "All kinds." "Do you have a company?" "Valencia Estate and Home Services." That answered more than she intended. "Estate services," I said. "We do transitions, cleanouts, consignment, staging, event support sometimes." Kayla looked at me carefully. "This is only about the memorial." Andrea glanced through Unit 5's window. "Is that a scut kiln?" I didn't answer. She moved closer to the glass. "Large production model. Those hold value if the elements are good," Kayla said. "Andrea." "What?" "I'm just noticing." I stepped between them and the window. "The studio isn't being liquidated." "No one said it was," Kayla replied. "You brought an estate liquidator. I brought someone who understands how to move fragile pottery. Nothing is being moved." Andrea put the tablet under her arm. "I think I should go. That's a good idea." Kayla followed her to the gate. Before leaving, she turned around. "You're making this much harder than it needs to be." I waited until the gate closed. Then I checked the camera over Unit 5's door. The indicator light was green. At the end of April, Nicholas called while I was booking a hotel in Minneapolis. A trade show for building suppliers started in the second week of May. "You still going out of town?" he asked. "Yes." "What days?" "Tuesday through Thursday." Kayla thought it was the following week. "She's mistaken." He paused. "Do you need me to check Portage Row?" "Lewis will be there. I could stop by, if you want." "Where do you keep the spare keys now?" "In the office cabinet." "The same one?" "Yes." He'd known about that cabinet since he helped me install it years earlier. His gate code also opened the office's exterior keypad. I almost changed both before leaving. Then I thought about what he'd said in Unit 5. It wasn't ours. I left his access alone. That was my mistake. On Tuesday morning, I drove south with a thermos of coffee and a folder of supplier notes beside me. Nicholas sent a text before I reached Cloquet. "Have a good trip. I'll keep an eye on things." I replied, "Louis has it covered, but thank you." The trade show was ordinary. Roofing samples, boiler controls, loading equipment, and men explaining warranties too loudly. I attended 2 sessions and spent Wednesday afternoon comparing commercial door hardware. Louis called during one of those sessions. My phone was on silent. He didn't leave a message. He called again Thursday morning while I was checking out of the hotel. By then, Andrea's crew was almost finished. That was the trip that ended with me standing inside the empty studio. I sat at my office desk and unlocked the steel cabinet. The recorder showed 4 cameras covering the courtyard, gates, loading area, and hallway. I started with Tuesday morning. Nicholas entered at 8:14 using his own code. He carried a travel mug and wore his work jacket. He went directly into my office. 2 minutes later, he came out holding the master ring. He crossed the courtyard and unlocked Unit 5. Then he stood outside with both hands in his pockets. Andrea's truck arrived at 8:23. A box truck followed it. 4 workers climbed out wearing gray shirts with Valencia Estate and Home Services printed across the back. Kayla arrived 6 minutes later. I leaned closer to the screen. She greeted Andrea near the loading door. They both looked toward the camera, but neither seemed concerned. The cameras had been there for years. People stopped noticing them. Kayla opened her binder on the hood of Andrea's truck. She pointed to several pages. Andrea nodded and sent 2 workers into the studio. Nicholas stayed beside the door. He didn't look confused. He didn't ask anyone to stop. At 8:41, the first shelving rack came out. The crew had brought moving blankets, rolling carts, plastic bins, and a pallet jack. They knew exactly what they were collecting. One worker photographed every shelf before removing the pottery. Another placed small colored stickers on the boxes. Kayla directed them. The camera had no sound, but I could see her pointing. She separated several boxes from the rest. Those were loaded into Andrea's van instead of the larger truck. At 9:30, 2 workers started disconnecting the kiln. Nicholas watched them. He stepped forward once and spoke to Andrea. She showed him something on her tablet. He read it, handed the tablet back, and moved away. The kiln came through the loading door at 10:18. Marie had chosen that kiln after saving for almost 3 years. We drove to Minneapolis to see the model before ordering it. She walked around the showroom, opening every latch and checking every brick. When the truck delivered it, she made me take 6 pictures. She wanted one with me, standing beside it. "You didn't make it," I told her. "You paid for half. That doesn't mean I need my picture taken. It does today." The picture still sat on my desk at home. On the recording, the kiln disappeared into the box truck. I paused the footage. My hand stayed on the mouse for a while. Then I kept watching. Nicholas left before noon. He returned the master ring to my office first. Kayla remained until 3:17. The crew came back Wednesday. This time, Kayla arrived before them. She waited at the gate and used Nicholas's code again. They removed the wheel, work table, clay storage bins, stools, lamps, and every finished piece. Around 11, Lewis came out of Unit 2. I watched him speak to Andrea. She showed him a document. Then Kayla joined them. She talked for almost 2 minutes. Lewis looked toward Unit 5. He took out his phone. That was his first call to me. At 1:26, a worker carried out a black garbage bag, something hard pressed against the plastic. Another worker rolled Marie's trash barrel to a rented dumpster near the loading area. He tipped it over the edge. I enlarged the image. Broken pottery filled the barrel. Test pieces, cracked bowls, glazed samples, and pieces Marie had kept for reasons only she understood. The worker emptied them into the dumpster. Kayla stood 10 feet away. I exported both days of footage to 2 separate drives. I also saved copies to the cloud account Erica used for document transfers. Then I called her. "I need you at Portage Row. What happened?" "They emptied Marie's studio." "Who?" Nicholas opened it. Kayla directed the crew. Erica didn't ask whether I was sure. "Do you have video?" "Yes." "Save the original. Don't alter it. I exported copies." "Good. Don't call the family yet." I wasn't going to. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. After we hung up, I opened the bottom drawer of my desk. A bottle of bourbon sat behind a stack of old inspection forms. Jerry had given it to me for my 70th birthday. I kept it there for cold afternoons when the building was quiet. I poured 1 glass. I didn't raise it. I didn't say anything. I drank it slowly while the footage played again without sound. That was the point when I stopped treating Kayla's behavior as unwanted help. She had entered my property, measured the loading door, brought an estate liquidator, and waited until I left town. Nicholas had given her the one thing she needed: access. Erica arrived carrying her laptop and a flat document case. I unlocked Unit 5 for her. She stopped inside the doorway. "Oh, Ralph, everything you saw at Christmas was in here." She walked to the kiln outlet and crouched beside it. "Did they damage anything?" "Not much left to damage. I mean, the wiring and plumbing. I know what you meant." She stood. "Sorry." We went into my office. I showed her the footage from the moment Nicholas entered. She watched without speaking. When Kayla opened the binder, Erica paused the video. Can you identify the document? No. Did Andrea give you anything in April? No. I didn't authorize work. Did Marie's estate hire her? No. Who is the personal representative? I am. Marie's will left her personal property to me, except for several name pieces and the recipe box she wanted Nicholas to have. The ceramics business had its own inventory records. Some pottery belonged to customers, and some had been promised to galleries. Nicholas couldn't authorize its removal. Even if every bowl had been left to him, he still couldn't enter a unit leased in my name and take possession without notice. Erica opened the document case and removed the certified lease copy. Did anyone ask to see this? No. Good. Why is that good? Because if Andrea claims she verified authority, I want to know what she relied on. I gave her Andrea's business card from the April visit. Erica called the number on speaker. Andrea answered. This is Erica Wright. I represent Ralph Thompson and Marie Thompson's estate. There was a pause. All right. We're calling regarding the removal of property from Unit 5 at Portage Row Studios. Another pause. I understood the family had approved that. No authorized representative approved it. I had a signed work order. Signed by whom? I'm not comfortable discussing client information over the phone. You entered my client's leased unit and removed property. You need to become comfortable quickly. Andrea's voice tightened. I was given access by the owner's son. Stepson, I said. Erica lifted one finger, asking me to wait. Who hired you? She asked. I'd need to review the file. Was it Kayla George? I need to review the file. Where is the property now? Some items are in processing. What does that mean? Cataloging, transport, placement. Have any items been sold? Andrea didn't answer immediately. The kiln was placed. Placed where? With a buyer. For how much? I can't release that without checking the agreement. You will stop every sale and transfer immediately. Preserve all inventory, photographs, messages, invoices, work orders, payment records, and buyer information. I'll speak to my attorney. Please do. I'll send a written preservation notice within the hour. Andrea cleared her throat. For what it's worth, I was told Mr. Thompson wanted this handled before the memorial. By whom? I need to speak with counsel. The call ended. I looked at Erica. She sold the kiln. It sounds that way. I want it back. I know. Can we make her return it? We can demand it. Whether it's still recoverable is another question. I stood and walked to the window. Kayla had known the date of my trip. She'd measured the door. She'd brought Andrea to inspect the kiln. Nicholas had asked where I kept the keys. None of it was accidental. I'm filing a police report, I said. Erica nodded. That's the correct next step. The officer who took the report was named Carlson. He met us at Portage Row that afternoon. He walked through the empty unit, photographed the outlet, loading door, floor marks, and broken handle I'd put on my desk. Then he watched part of the security footage. Do they have any ownership claim? He asked. To the unit, no, Erica said. The lease is in Mr. Thompson's individual name. The building is held by his trust. What about the contents? Most passed to Ralph under Marie's will. Some belonged to her business or customers. None were authorized for removal. Carlson looked at me. Did Nicholas have permission to enter your office? For emergencies. Was that written down? No. Did he have permission to use the master key? Not to clear this unit. He made a note. Family property cases can get complicated. I'm not telling you it isn't theft. I'm telling you the county attorney will want clean ownership records. That's why we're creating them, Erica said. Carlson asked for copies of the footage, lease, will, and inventory records. He gave me a report number before leaving. I placed his card in the family assistance file. The name on that folder no longer fit. I didn't change it. The next morning, Erica sent Andrea the preservation notice and a demand to identify every item removed. She copied Andrea's attorney after he contacted her. By noon, Andrea's attorney confirmed that the remaining pieces would be held. He wouldn't say what remained. He also wouldn't identify the kiln buyer without a formal demand. Just after 3, Kayla called 4 times. I didn't answer. Nicholas called at 5:20. I watched his name on the screen until the final ring. Then I picked up. Dad, did you report us to the police? I reported what happened. Kayla said an officer came to Andrea's office. That may be true. You could have called me. You could have called me before opening Unit 5. He breathed hard through his nose. I thought you wanted it cleared. Why? Kayla said you couldn't bring yourself to deal with it. Did I say that? No. Did I authorize Andrea? I thought Kayla handled it. That wasn't my question. He went quiet. Did you know they were selling things? I asked. Some things. The kiln? She said it wasn't being used. It was Marie's. I know whose it was. Did you know they were selling it? I knew Andrea had a buyer interested. My grip tightened around the phone. How much? I don't know. Did you sign anything? Just the access form. What access form? Andrea needed confirmation that I was family. Family doesn't make you the tenant. I didn't know the lease was in your name. You never asked. Dad, I was trying to help. You unlocked the door. Because Kayla said you agreed. You knew I hadn't. He raised his voice. How was I supposed to know what you told her? You asked me. I did ask. You shut down every conversation about the studio. I said it stays untouched until August. He stopped. That sentence had been spoken at the burial meeting. It had been repeated in the courtyard. It had been said to him inside Unit 5. He couldn't claim he hadn't heard it. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. Kayla said the memorial would be easier if it was clean. It was clean. You know what I mean. No, I don't. She thought seeing everything would upset you. So, she sold it. I didn't know she was selling all of it. But you knew she was selling some. Yes. That answer mattered. It would have been easier if he'd lied. I sat at the kitchen table, looking at the empty chair across from me. Why did she need it gone before the memorial? To spare you the hard part. That's what Andrea was told, too. It's true. No, it's a sentence both of you agreed to use. Dad, don't do that. Do what? Make it sound planned. I looked at the printed gate log. It was planned. He didn't answer. Did Kayla get a quote before my trip? I don't know. Did she discuss the kiln with Andrea after the April visit? I don't know. Did she tell you money from the sale would cover memorial expenses? Yes. Did you ask why anything needed to be sold when I was paying? No. Did you receive any money? No. Did Kayla? I don't think so. That was the first time money entered the conversation without a clear destination. Nicholas kept talking. We can fix this. Andrea can bring back whatever hasn't sold. We'll replace what's gone. You can't replace 23 years of finished work. I know. No, you knew before they carried it out. He went silent. Finally, he said, What happens now? The police keep the report. Erica gets the records. No one enters Portage Row under your code. You disabled mine too? Yes. Dad. I trusted you with emergency access. You used it to empty a leased unit. Kayla said you approved it, and you chose not to ask. He hung up. The following day, Andrea's attorney sent Erica a short response. It didn't include the invoice, sale list, or buyer names. It did confirm one thing. Kayla had requested a liquidation estimate in April before she ever brought Andrea to Portage Row. The visit I thought was an argument over memorial planning had been an inspection. I printed the attorney's letter and placed it beside Tiffany's card. Kayla had hired one woman to write about my ability to manage my life. Then she hired another to put a price on what was inside it. In June, the mail carrier knocked on my door and asked me to sign for a certified envelope. The return address was the St. Louis County Courthouse. I signed the slip and carried the envelope into the kitchen. It was thick enough that I opened it with Marie's old paring knife. The first page had my name in capital letters. Nicholas George had petitioned the court to appoint a guardian for me. I read the sentence twice. The petition claimed I was unable to make safe decisions about my housing, medical care, finances, and property. It asked for authority to arrange my living situation and protect my assets while my condition was reviewed. Nicholas had signed it 6 days earlier. His signature leaned to the right. It always had. I'd watched him sign school forms, his marriage license, and the first loan papers for his truck. I knew that signature. I turned the page. The filing described me as isolated since Marie's death. It said I had resisted reasonable support and reacted with hostility when family members tried to help. The assisted living pamphlets were mentioned. The missing mail was described as evidence that I had failed to keep up with correspondence. It didn't mention that Kayla had redirected it. Tiffany's assessment was attached as an exhibit. I saw her name and closed that section without reading it. Then I reached the part about Unit 5. According to the petition, the family had arranged a necessary clearing of Marie's studio because I was emotionally unable to handle it. My response was described as disproportionate anger, suspicion, and an inability to understand shared family property. The police report had become evidence against me. I put the papers flat on the table and called Erica. I got something from the courthouse. What kind of something? A guardianship petition. She stopped typing. Who filed it? Nicholas. Don't call him yet. Bring it here. Her office was 15 minutes away. I made it in 12. Erica read the first page standing up. Then she sat and worked through the rest with a pencil in her hand. She marked dates. She placed small tabs beside claims about the mail, the studio, and my temper. When she reached Tiffany's exhibit, her mouth tightened. What? I asked. She stayed inside the line. What line? She repeatedly says she isn't offering a medical diagnosis. Then she gives opinions that sound medical to anyone reading quickly. Can she do that? She can write opinions. That doesn't make them competent evidence. She sent it to Kayla. Yes. Not me. No. I walked to the window. Cars moved along the wet street below. A city bus stopped at the corner and lowered its front step for a man with a cane. What do they get if this works? Erica turned to the page listing the requested authority. They want control over where you live, who provides care, and who can make decisions if the court finds you incapacitated. And Portage Row? They're asking for broad financial protection powers. Meaning what? Meaning they want access to records, income, contracts, and accounts. The court would have to decide the exact scope. I looked back at her. Leases? They're asking for enough authority to interfere with them. Sell the building? Not automatically. They'd need additional approval and would face restrictions. But they could get inside the business. That's what they're trying to do. The answer settled everything. The floor plan Kayla circled had no garage because she never expected me to need one. She took the mail because she wanted to see the business correspondence. Tiffany wasn't there to check rugs. She was there to create a document. Andrea wasn't there to plan a memorial. She was there to turn Marie's studio into the first available cash. They needed me out of the house, away from Portage Row, and unable to sign for myself. The petition gave a name to the whole sequence. Erica turned another page. They're using your reaction to the studio clearing as the urgent change. They created the reaction. I know. They stole Marie's kiln, then told the court I was irrational for objecting. That appears to be the argument. I sat across from her. Does Nicholas understand what he signed? He signed a sworn filing. That isn't what I asked. No, it isn't. She removed her glasses. The hearing is scheduled for July. Nothing transfers today. You still control your property and accounts. What do? We answer every claim. We get a proper medical evaluation. We notify the other people who need to know. She didn't have to explain who those people were. Marie and I had prepared for the possibility of illness years earlier. Nicholas and Kayla didn't know what those preparations contained. I looked at his signature again. Now can I call him? You can. Keep it short. He answered with, Dad, I was going to come over. When? Tonight. To tell me what? He didn't respond. The courthouse told me first, I said. Kayla said the papers wouldn't arrive this soon. That was an answer. You filed for guardianship. It isn't what it sounds like. It sounds like you filed for guardianship. It's a precaution. For what? In case something happens. Something did happen. You emptied the studio. This is bigger than the studio. I know that now. He went quiet. I could hear office noise behind him. A reversing alarm sounded somewhere near his loading yard. Did Kayla prepare the petition? I asked. She found the lawyer. Did you read it? Most of it. Did you read the part saying I can't manage Portage Row? Dad, the building is a lot. That's not an answer. Yes, I read it. Do you believe it? He lowered his voice. I believe you haven't been yourself. My wife died. I know. Your mother died. I know that too. Then which part isn't normal? The cameras, the files, calling the police on family. I installed the cameras years ago. The files prove why I called the police. You're acting like Kayla planned all this. She did. No, she reacted because you shut everybody out. She filed the mail request before Tiffany visited. Tiffany wrote the report before Andrea came. Andrea gave Kayla a quote before you opened the unit. That doesn't mean this was always the plan. What was the plan? He didn't answer. Say it, Nicholas. We wanted to make sure somebody could step in. For what? The house? The building? Your appointments? Who is somebody? Me? Not Kayla? We're married. That wasn't my question. He said nothing. Whose idea was the guardianship? Kayla brought it up. When? After the police report. That didn't match the paperwork. The petition referred to concerns collected over months. It used Tiffany's December visit and the mail problems from the fall. Someone had been keeping a record long before May. Put Kayla on the phone, I said. She's not here. You just looked away from her. What? You change your voice when she's in the room. I heard movement. Then Kayla spoke. I'm here. How long have you been planning to take control of Portage Row? That isn't what this is. Then explain what it is. It's protection. From whom? From bad decisions. Name one. You've left Marie's studio frozen for months. That was my decision. You rejected safer housing. I didn't need it. You refused a professional assessment. I completed the visit. You threw Tiffany out. After she asked medical questions she wasn't qualified to ask. You've become suspicious of everyone. Only the people entering my property while I'm gone. Her voice sharpened. This is exactly why Nicholas had to file. He had to? You're not listening to reason. I'm listening now. She took a breath and softened her tone. Ralph, nobody wants to hurt you, but Portage Row brings in real income. There are contracts, maintenance issues, taxes, and tenants depending on you. If you have a health event, everything stops. I don't manage it alone. You act like you do. Who do you think should manage it? Nicholas and you. I handle our household finances. That doesn't answer me. We would handle things together. There it was. What happens to my house? I asked. No decision has been made. What decision are you considering? It may need to be sold eventually. And where do I go? To a place with support. The one bedroom you circled, that was an example. It said good fit, because it was close to us. What happens to Unit 5? She paused. It should have been handled through the estate months ago. Handled means sold. Some of it had value. Letting it sit wasn't helping anyone. Who received the money? Andrea hasn't completed the accounting. You arranged it. She was supposed to pay expenses first. What expenses? Removal, transport, consignment, the memorial. I'm paying for the memorial, you say that now. I said it at the planning meeting. Nicholas spoke behind her. Kayla, stop. No, she said. He keeps making us look like thieves when we're the only people thinking about what happens next. What happens next? I asked. Her answer came quickly. Nicholas takes over the building. We get you somewhere manageable. We sell what you don't need, and everybody stops waiting for a crisis. She stopped herself too late. Nicholas said her name again. I could picture him standing beside her, wanting the conversation to disappear. Was the empty studio the crisis? I asked. Kayla's voice became careful. It proved you couldn't separate grief from property. You emptied it without permission. You wouldn't give permission. So you did it anyway. We did what needed to be done. Nicholas took the phone. Dad, let's meet in person. No, we can work this out. You already took it to court. We can withdraw it. Will you? He didn't say yes. That told me Kayla was still close enough for him to see her face. I have to go, I said. Dad, wait. I ended the call. Erica had heard enough through the speaker. She stated the plan clearly, she said. Not under oath, no, but clearly. Can we use it? Not by itself. Minnesota requires consent to record private calls, and we didn't record this one anyway. Your notes can preserve your memory, but we'll build the response with admissible evidence. I took out my legal pad. What did she say about Portage Row? You remember, I wanted exact. I wrote the conversation down while it was fresh. Nicholas takes over the building. We get you somewhere manageable. We sell what you don't need. The language was plain because the motive was plain. Kayla didn't want to help me carry my life. She wanted to decide which parts I was allowed to keep. Erica made copies of the petition. She placed the original in a new folder and wrote the hearing date across the tab. Then she called the courthouse clerk to confirm the filing status. While she was on the phone, I read the requested authority again. The petition listed rental income, business accounts, property maintenance, housing decisions, and access to records. It didn't mention the trust by name. They knew Portage Row produced money. They knew I signed the leases and paid its expenses. They assumed removing my authority would hand those things to Nicholas. Kayla had built her case from the outside. She had never seen the structure underneath. Erica finished the call. The petition is active, she said. They haven't requested an emergency hearing, so we have time. How much? Several weeks. What happens before then? We get the medical evaluation. I contact Jerry. We prepare your response. I looked at the rain running down her office window. And Nicholas? He chose to be the petitioner. I know. You can love him and still answer what he filed. I folded the assisted living floor plan and slipped it behind the petition. For months, I had kept separating Nicholas from Kayla's decisions. His name on the courthouse papers ended that habit. The following Monday, Jerry met us at Erica's office. He carried a canvas document bag he'd owned since before I bought Portage Row. The zipper caught halfway. He pulled it twice, muttered at it, and set 3 binders on the conference table. Original trust documents, he said, tax schedules, property transfer records. Erica already had Marie's estate file and the certified Unit 5 lease. We spread everything across the table. The Stepson Family Protective Trust had owned Portage Row since 2021. I remained the sole acting trustee. That meant I controlled rental income, repairs, contracts, and leasing decisions. Erica and Jerry were independent protective co-trustees. They didn't manage daily business. Their authority mattered only if someone claimed I couldn't manage it myself. Marie and I had insisted on that arrangement after her diagnosis. I remembered sitting in the same conference room with her. She wore a knitted cap because her hair had begun falling out. She kept touching the smooth rim around her ears. Erica had shown us a standard incapacity clause. Marie read it twice. "This lets one doctor decide?" she asked. "With supporting documents, yes," Erica said. "What if the doctor only hears from family?" "That can happen." Marie looked at me. "No." I knew that tone. Erica revised the clause. Under the final version, no successor could gain signing authority unless 2 separate physicians independently found me incapable. After that, Erica and Jerry both had to review the findings and sign written certifications. One doctor wasn't enough. One worried relative wasn't enough. A court filing by itself wasn't enough. The clause didn't stop anyone from filing a petition. It stopped that petition from unlocking the building, the leases, or the accounts. Marie tapped the revised page with one finger. "Better," she said. Jerry adjusted his glasses and read the clause again that July morning. "They don't have either physician certification," he said. "They have Tiffany," I replied. "Tiffany sells moving plans. Apparently she also sells opinions." Erica turned the petition toward him. "She's careful not to call it a diagnosis." "Then it isn't one." "No." "Has anyone asked us to certify incapacity?" "Not yet." Jerry looked at me. "Can you tell me the balance of the Portage operating account?" I told him. "Monthly rent total?" I told him that too. "Insurance renewal? October 1st. Roof payment? Last installment cleared in May." He nodded. "I'm satisfied. You asked 4 questions. I've done your books for 30 years. I also reviewed June." Erica placed a blank certification form beside him. "We're not signing a declaration of capacity," she said. "That isn't our role. We document that the trust's incapacity requirements have not been met." Jerry read the form. It said no valid physician findings had been provided. It also said neither protective co-trustee had observed a basis to transfer control. He signed at the bottom. Erica signed beneath him. The signatures didn't win the court case. They did something more immediate. They kept Portage Row where it was. Erica sent copies to the trust's bank, the credit union, the building insurer, and the property management account. Each received instructions that nobody besides me had signing authority. She also notified the tenants that leasing directions would come only from my office or hers. The notice didn't mention Nicholas or Kayla. It didn't mention guardianship. It said we were updating fraud protections. After Jerry left, Erica took the Unit 5 lease to the copier. "You still have the original at home?" she asked. "In the filing cabinet." "Move it." "Where?" "My vault." "You already have a certified copy." "I want the signed original here before the hearing." I drove home and retrieved it that afternoon. The lease showed Portage Row as landlord and Ralph Thompson as tenant. Marie's studio use appeared in the purpose section, but she wasn't the lessee. Erica checked every page. "Current through August?" she asked. "Paid through the end of the year." "From your individual account?" "Yes." She attached the payment record. The lease established control of the unit. Marie's will and business inventory records established ownership of most contents. The security footage established who removed them. None of those documents depended on my memory. That mattered. Doctor, Alexander scheduled my formal evaluation for the second week of July. This visit took longer than the February appointment. He reviewed my medical chart, medications, financial habits, daily routine, and family history. He asked how I handled emergencies at Portage Row. Then he gave me a longer set of memory and reasoning exercises. At one point, he read a short story about a woman missing a bus. 10 minutes later, he asked what color coat she wore. Green. Where was she going? To a dentist. Why did she miss the bus? She went back for her umbrella. He made a note. Do you know why I'm doing this evaluation? He asked. My stepson filed a guardianship petition. What does he say is wrong? That grief has impaired my judgment. Has it? Grief changed my judgment about some things. How? I don't make plans for two people anymore. He waited. It hasn't stopped me paying bills, I added. It hasn't changed how I manage the building. It has made me less patient with people taking my property. That sounds relevant. He asked about the studio. I told him what happened without describing Kayla as greedy or Nicholas as weak. I gave dates, actions, and documents. He reviewed the February screening and compared it with the new results. When we finished, he folded his hands on the desk. I find no evidence that you lack decision-making capacity. Will you put that plainly? Yes. No language that can be read 6 different ways? He smiled. I'll write it plainly. His final report stated that I understood my property, obligations, medical needs, and legal circumstances. It said I could explain the consequences of my decisions and communicate consistent choices. Erica received the signed report 2 days later. She read it once, then placed it behind the petition. This is strong, she said. Strong enough? For the medical issue, yes. The petition has no physician supporting it. We have an independent geriatric evaluation finding you competent. What happens next? We file our response. She submitted the evaluation, trust certification, lease, mail forwarding record, and an affidavit describing the unauthorized studio clearing. The complete security footage stayed with us. Erica provided only enough still images to establish that a dispute existed. She didn't want every piece of evidence circulating before Andrea produced her records. Kayla's lawyer responded the next day. He argued that Dr. Alexander had seen me before and wasn't independent. Erica read that sentence aloud. He saw you in February for a routine medical visit. That makes his July opinion informed, not controlled. Can they demand another doctor? They can ask. They still haven't produced their first. The courthouse scheduled a review before the memorial. Then Julie Smith called from the credit union. I'd known Julie for several years. She handled the small equipment loan Portage Row used for its last roof project. Ralph, are you expecting anyone to access the building account? She asked. No, not Nicholas or Kayla George. No. She lowered her voice. Kayla came into the branch. When? This morning. Nicholas was with her. What did she ask for? Statements, current balances, and authorization forms. Did Nicholas ask too? He mostly sat there. Did she have anything with my signature? No. She showed us the guardianship petition. A petition isn't an order. I know, I told her that. What did she say? She said the family would be taking over and wanted to prevent you from moving funds. I looked at the checking register on my desk. Did she see anything? No balances, no account details, nothing. Did she try to add herself? She asked what documentation would be required. What did you tell her? That we needed a court order and review by our legal department. Julie paused. Then I checked the trust instructions. Even a general order wouldn't be enough to change the trustee. Your protective certifications would still apply. That's why they're there. I placed a security alert on every account connected to Portage Row. Any request involving your authority comes directly to me. Thank you. Do you want the account numbers changed? Not unless something was exposed. It wasn't. Then keep the alert. After the call, I phoned Erica. She asked me to write down the time and Julie's exact words. Then Erica contacted the credit union's counsel and requested a written incident confirmation. Julie sent it that afternoon. The confirmation was brief. Kayla had requested access. She presented no authority. The request was denied. Nicholas's presence was noted. I added it to the file. They weren't waiting for the hearing anymore. They were trying doors. The mail had been one door. Unit 5 had been another. Now it was the operating account. Each time, Kayla acted as if authority was already hers. The trust documents proved it wasn't. Erica called Jerry back to her office the next morning. We reviewed the bank alert and the petition response together. Jerry checked the most recent account activity. No unusual transfers, he said. No checks I can't identify. Can Nicholas reach rental deposits? Erica asked. No. Kayla? No. Could either of them redirect tenant payments? Not after the notice. Tenants have confirmed receipt. I'd spent the previous afternoon speaking with all 8 tenants. I didn't explain the family case. I asked them to call me if anyone requested new payment instructions. Louis stared at me across his workbench. Does this involve the people who took Marie's kiln? Yes. Then you didn't have to ask. He taped Erica's notice beside his invoice calendar. Back at her office, Erica assembled 3 sets of documents. One remained in her vault. Jerry took one. I carried the third to Portage Row and locked it in the steel cabinet beside the camera recorder. The first section contained the trust and protective clause. The second contained the Unit 5 lease and payment history. The third contained Dr. Alexander's report. The fourth contained the gate logs, credit union incident, police report, and preservation notices. Andrea's complete sale records were still missing. Her attorney had provided only a general inventory count and confirmation that some goods had already been transferred. Erica had set a deadline for full production before the memorial. Until then, we knew enough to stop the takeover, but not enough to account for Marie's work. I closed the cabinet. For the first time since the certified envelope arrived, I knew exactly what Kayla could reach. Nothing, unless I handed it to her. She didn't know that yet. At the end of July, Kayla sent an email with the subject line, Family Transition Meeting. She copied relatives, several of Marie's close friends, and 2 Portage Row tenants. The meeting would take place Sunday afternoon in their living room. The message said, important decisions had to be made before the memorial. I forwarded it to Erica. Do you want me there? She asked. No. Then don't agree to anything. I'm not going there to agree. Nicholas called Saturday evening. Are you coming tomorrow? He asked. Yes. Kayla wants everybody calm. Then she should have invited calmer people. I'm serious. So am I. He lowered his voice. This meeting could help. Help what? Get everyone on the same page. Whose page? He didn't answer. Their living room had been rearranged when I arrived. Folding chairs faced the television. A stack of printed packets sat on the coffee table. Marie's younger sister Helen was there. So were 2 cousins, Jean, Louis, and 3 longtime family friends. Louis took the chair beside me. Does she always print this much? He asked. She likes paper when it agrees with her. Kayla stood near the television wearing a navy blouse and slacks. Nicholas remained by the fireplace. She waited until everyone sat down. Thank you for coming, she said. I know this feels formal. It is formal, Helen replied. Kayla smiled. We need clarity. She handed out the packets. The cover page said, Ralph's transition plan. My name was printed larger than hers. Inside was a proposed schedule, medical review in July, housing decision in August, house preparation in September, Portage Row management transfer by October. There was even a line for estate sale planning. I read it twice. Then I handed my copy to Louis. He looked at the cover and whispered, You approve this? No. Kayla heard me. Nothing is final. You put dates on it, I said. They're proposed. Who proposed them? The family. Helen looked around. Nobody asked me. Kayla folded her hands. When I say family, I mean the people handling Ralph's daily needs. Who handles my daily needs? I asked. You do right now? Then I wasn't asked either. Nicholas stepped away from the fireplace. Dad, let her explain. I leaned back. Go ahead. Kayla turned on the television. A slide showed the exterior of an assisted living building. It was the same place from the pamphlet. The goal is to reduce stress, she said. Ralph has been through a difficult loss. Managing a large home and commercial property creates unnecessary pressure. Jean raised her hand slightly. Has Ralph said he feels pressured? He doesn't always recognize it. I said nothing. Kayla changed the slide. The next showed Portage Row. This property requires active management. Nicholas has experience with operations and logistics. Once legal authority is settled, he can oversee leases and maintenance. Louis shifted beside me. Ralph oversees my lease, he said. For now? The words came out before Kayla could soften them. Lewis looked at me. I kept my hands folded. Kayla continued. Nobody is trying to take anything. This is continuity planning. Helen opened the packet. Why does continuity planning include selling Ralph's house? It says preparation, not sale. Page 4 says market listing. That would depend on housing. Whose housing? Helen asked. Ralph's. I watched Nicholas. He stared at the floor. Kayla changed the slide again. A list appeared under the heading Recent Concerns. Mail management, resistance to safety planning, emotional attachment to unused property, conflict with service providers, police involvement against family. She had turned every objection into a symptom. What service providers? One of the cousins asked. A senior transition professional and an estate specialist. Did Ralph hire them? No, but that's common when someone resists support. Lewis looked toward Kayla. The estate specialist took a kiln out of my building. Your building? She asked. My rented shop is there. I watched it happen. The studio needed to be cleared. Ralph said it didn't. Kayla lifted both palms. This is why we're meeting. Everyone has heard a different version. There's a camera version, Louis said. Nicholas finally looked up. Can we not get into that today? Kayla nodded. The property dispute is being handled separately. You included it in your concerns, I said. Because your reaction matters. My reaction to what? To being helped. You sold property from a unit leased to me. Helen turned toward Nicholas. Is that true? He rubbed his palms against his trousers. The lease situation wasn't clear. It was clear to the person whose name was on it, I said. Kayla spoke over him. Marie used that studio. Nicholas is her son. He had every reason to believe he could help manage her belongings. He asked me first. And you refused to discuss it. I told him nothing moved before August. The room stayed quiet. Kayla turned off the television. I don't want this to become another argument. The court will review everything. Once Nicholas is appointed, we can make decisions without forcing Ralph through the details. Helen stared at her. Appointed as what? Nicholas looked toward Kayla. She answered, guardian. Several people spoke at once. Jean asked, You filed against him? Helen said, Are you serious? Louis used a word Marie disliked. Kayla raised her voice. This isn't punishment. It's a protective process. Helen stood. Does Ralph have a doctor saying he needs a guardian? There's professional documentation. That wasn't my question. The court decides what's sufficient. I watched Kayla grip the remote. She believed Tiffany's report would carry more weight than it did. She believed the petition gave her standing at the credit union. She believed the judge would see my resistance as proof. Most of all, she believed Portage Row waited behind my signature. Now, when do you expect Nicholas to take over? I asked. She looked at me. After the hearing. Immediately? For urgent matters. Which matters? The accounts, leases, and memorial expenses. And my house? That will take longer? Will I be allowed to stay there? Ralph, don't use words like allowed. Which word should I use? No one wants to force you. That still isn't an answer. She set down the remote. You would move once an appropriate place is available. You already selected one. I researched one. You circled a one-bedroom. Because you're one person. Helen made a sharp sound. Nicholas said, Kayla. She turned toward him. What? We're here to be honest. He looked at the people in the room. This isn't how we discussed it. How did you discuss it? I asked. Nicholas rubbed the back of his neck. We said we'd look at options. After you got authority. Yes, authority over me. Temporary authority. Kayla picked up the packet. It remains in place as long as needed. Nicholas's face changed. He hadn't read that part carefully. I saw it happen, but I didn't rescue him. Helen sat down again. Ralph, what are you doing about this? Answering it. Do you have a lawyer? Yes. Are you all right? Yes. Kayla shook her head. This is what he does. He gives one-word answers and expects everyone to accept them. You asked if I'm all right. You know what I mean. I usually don't. Lewis handed the packet back to me. I don't support this, he said loudly. Jean agreed. Helen looked at Nicholas. You should withdraw it. Nicholas glanced at Kayla. She answered for him. We're not withdrawing anything. The process has already started. That was her full commitment. She had called the meeting expecting witnesses to pressure me. Instead, she told them exactly what she planned to take, the accounts. The leases, the house, my right to decide where I lived. I closed the packet. Is there anything else? I asked. Kayla's expression hardened. At the memorial, we're going to explain that the family is stepping in. People deserve to understand why there have been changes. What changes? The studio, management, your availability. I'm available. You shouldn't be dealing with tenant questions that day. I own the building. The trust owns the building. That surprised me. She knew the trust existed. She didn't know what it said. Who told you that? I asked. It's in the property records. Did you read the trust? It doesn't matter. Guardianship supersedes private paperwork. Erica would have enjoyed answering that. I didn't. Kayla gathered the unused packets. We're done. Outside, Nicholas followed me to my truck. Dad. I opened the driver's door. Do you want this? I asked. I want everybody protected. That's her answer. I don't want you losing the building because you missed something. What have I missed? That's not the point. It is the only point. He looked back at the house. I want this over. That isn't the same as wanting it right. He put his hands in his pockets. Would you cooperate if I withdrew the petition? With what? Let me help manage Portage Row. You used my keys to empty Unit 5. I made a mistake. You made several decisions. He looked down. Are you cutting me out? I haven't decided. Kayla says you're changing your estate plan. I don't discuss my estate plan with Kayla, but are you? I got into the truck. The memorial is Saturday. Come for your mother. He stepped away. What about the meeting? I heard it. I closed the door. On Friday afternoon, Erica called. The court entered its decision, she said. I waited. The petition was denied. Completely? Yes, no medical certification. No evidence of present incapacity. Dr. Alexander's evaluation was accepted. Have they been notified? The electronic notice went to their lawyer. Whether he has reached them, I don't know. What about the trust? Untouched. I looked through my office window at the courtyard. Louis and Jean were arranging chairs under a rented canopy. And Andrea, her attorney, delivered the complete records. What do they show? Enough. We'll go through them tomorrow with Jerry. Is anything coming back? Some pieces can. She didn't say more. The next morning, the courtyard filled early. Artists carried food through the gate. Tenants opened their doors. People placed photographs of Marie along the brick wall. Unit 5 remained empty. Kayla arrived wearing black and carrying the same binder from the family meeting. Nicholas followed with a box of framed pictures. He looked exhausted. Erica came through the gate at 10. Jerry arrived a few minutes later with the document case. They stood beside me near the studio door. Kayla watched them, but she didn't ask why they were there. At noon, Louis tested the microphone. The memorial began with stories about Marie. Jean talked about the first bowl Marie ever sold. A gallery owner described how Marie wrapped pottery with old grocery bags because she hated wasting paper. Nicholas spoke about the recipe box. His voice broke near the end. He returned to his seat without looking at me. Then Kayla walked to the microphone. Her name wasn't on the program. She thanked everyone for supporting the family. She spoke about grief, difficult choices, and the burden of caring for someone who refused help. People began looking toward me. Kayla opened her binder. She said Nicholas had started a legal process to protect my health and property. She said the family would soon manage Portage Row and help me move into a safer home. Then she described the empty studio as a necessary decision I had been unable to make. We hope Ralph's friends and tenants will support us as we step in, she said. He may be angry at first, but that doesn't mean this is wrong. The courtyard went still. Kayla looked directly at me. This is his chance to stand with his family. Then she held the microphone out to me. I took it. Kayla smiled as if I had finally agreed. I walked to the center of the courtyard. Erica stood on my right. Jerry stood on my left. I'm going to correct a few things, I said. Kayla closed her binder. This isn't the time for another argument. I agree. Erica handed me one sheet of paper. The court denied the guardianship petition yesterday. Nicholas looked at Kayla. Her face went still. That's not possible, she said. It was denied for lack of medical certification and evidence of incapacity. I held up Dr. Alexander's report. My independent evaluation found me fully capable of managing my property, health, and finances. Kayla reached for the microphone. I moved it away. You had your turn. She dropped her hand. Jerry opened the document case. I explained the trust in 2 sentences. Portage Row couldn't pass to a successor unless two independent physicians found me incapable. Erica and Jerry would then both have to review those findings and certify the transfer. No doctors found me incapable, I said. Both protective co-trustees declined certification. The court petition could not transfer one account, one lease, or one key. Kayla looked at Nicholas. You said the trust was standard. I never saw it, he replied. You told me it wouldn't matter. No, you told me. People shifted in their chairs. I pointed toward the screen used for Marie's photographs. Louis connected Erica's laptop. The Unit 5 lease appeared. The studio wasn't Nicholas's to enter. It wasn't Kayla's to clear. The unit was leased to me. The next image showed the payment record. My name appeared beside every month, including the months after Marie died. Then the security footage played. Nicholas crossed the courtyard with my master keys. Andrea's crew entered behind him. Kayla arrived carrying her binder. Nobody spoke while the kiln rolled through the loading door. Kayla stared at the ground. Nicholas watched himself return the keys to my office. He covered his mouth with one hand. The footage stopped. Erica opened Andrea's records for the first time in front of us. The April estimate listed the kiln, wheel, shelving, equipment, and finished pottery. Kayla's name appeared as the requesting client. A later work order described me as unable to approve the clearing due to grief and cognitive decline. That's a lie, Helen said. Kayla looked toward her. It was Andrea's wording. Erica turned the page. It came from the information you provided. The sale ledger showed $9,500 received through Andrea's consignment network. The kiln accounted for the largest part. Several groups of Marie's best bowls and pitchers had also sold. The invoice listed removal fees, disposal fees, and a planned memorial deduction. Nicholas stepped forward. Where did the rest of the money go? Kayla looked at him. We were waiting for the final accounting. This is the final accounting. I didn't receive anything. You signed it. I signed for the service. Erica held up the authorization. You directed Andrea to apply proceeds against fees and hold the balance for your instructions. Kayla's voice rose. I was trying to preserve value. You put pottery in a dumpster, Louis said. That was damaged inventory. It belonged to Marie, I replied. Not everything can be kept forever. No, but the person taking it needs authority. Andrea appeared near the loading gate. Her van was parked outside. Two workers stood behind her with padded bins. She looked uncomfortable. My attorney advised me to return all unsold property, she said. How much remains? I asked. 63 finished pieces, the wheel, 2 lamps, hand tools, and several boxes of studio materials. The kiln? The buyer won't release it voluntarily. I nodded. Andrea looked toward Kayla. I relied on your written representation that you had family authority. You knew Ralph objected, Kayla said. I knew after the April visit. You took the job anyway. Yes? Andrea didn't defend herself further. Her workers began carrying Marie's pottery into the courtyard. Jean opened the first bin. She lifted out a blue serving bowl and held it against her chest. People gathered around the returned pieces. Kayla remained beside the microphone. This was supposed to help, she said. Nicholas looked at her. You told me Dad agreed. I said he would understand later. You said Andrea was storing the studio. She stored what hadn't sold. You knew I thought everything was coming back for the memorial. Kayla reached for his arm. He stepped away. I opened the door, he said. You couldn't have done it without me. She lowered her voice. We'll talk at home. No. Nicholas? You filed the papers. You wrote the plan. You tried to get into the account. You were with me. I know. He turned toward me. I signed the petition. I unlocked the studio. That's on me. I didn't answer. He looked at Kayla again. You need to leave. This is Marie's memorial. And you just used it to announce you were taking her husband's life apart. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She gathered her binder and walked through the gate alone. Nobody followed her. I handed the microphone back to Louis. We came here for Marie, I said. Let's do that. The memorial continued. Andrea's workers placed the recovered pottery on temporary shelves inside Unit 5. Jean arranged the best pieces near the doorway. The empty kiln outlet remained visible behind them. Nicholas carried boxes but didn't speak to me. Near sunset, people lit small battery candles along the courtyard wall. We played a recording of Marie laughing during a pottery demonstration. She'd forgotten what she meant to say and blamed the clay. For a moment, the empty studio sounded like her place again. The legal consequences took several months. Andrea cooperated after her insurer became involved. She returned everything still in her control and waived her fees. The original kiln remained with the buyer. Erica advised me that forcing its return would cost more than replacing it. Kayla signed a restitution agreement for $9,500. Her payments went into a separate account for restoring Unit 5. The police report remained open until the property settlement was signed. I agreed not to push for charges once restitution, records, and remaining inventory were secured. That wasn't forgiveness. It was a practical result. I amended the trust documents. Kayla was permanently barred from serving as trustee, successor, agent, business manager, or account representative. She received no access to Portage Row or my financial records. Nicholas remained outside the trust's management structure. He and Kayla separated for a while. I didn't ask whether it would be permanent. Their marriage was theirs to settle. My relationship with Nicholas was mine. He came to the house 3 weeks after the memorial. He stood on the front step without entering. "I ordered a kiln," he said. "I didn't ask you to." "I know. That doesn't settle what happened. I know that too." He handed me the order confirmation. He had paid the deposit from his own account. "I'll cover the rest," he said. "You can help install it." He looked at me. "Does that mean I can come back to Portage Row?" "To install the kiln, and after? We'll see." He nodded. "What about the house?" "Kayla doesn't come here. Understood. You don't get a key." "I understand." That was where we started. He came every Saturday for the next 2 months. We cleaned the studio, repaired the shelving, and repainted the wall behind the kiln outlet. Some days we talked. Some days we only worked. He apologized more than once. I never told him it was forgotten. When the replacement kiln arrived, he guided the pallet through the loading door while I watched the clearance. It fit with less than an inch to spare. Nicholas connected the ventilation under my supervision. Then he placed Marie's wheel near the window. "We should make something," he said. "I'm an iron worker. You installed enough of this equipment. That doesn't mean I can use it," he smiled. "Mom would have enjoyed watching you fail." That's probably true. I took the broken blue handle from my desk and placed it in a shallow dish beside the new kiln. The studio wasn't restored to the way Marie left it. It never could be. But it was no longer empty. I learned that help still asks permission. Greed prefers to call itself planning. If this story stayed with you, tell me what you would have done. Leave a like and subscribe for the next one.